What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're working on the world's first fuel-injected Kawasaki KLX110 pit bike. I think, maybe. Check it out. So in 2019, Honda came out with the first ever fuel-injected Japanese pit bike, the CRF110. It's the second generation of their 110 and they had a handful of changes, but the most important one being that the motor was no longer carbureted. So no jetting, no choke to use when you start the bike, nothing manual like that anymore, and it's a huge advancement over the other bikes. Now, for whatever reason, Kawasaki did not release a fuel-injected bike to this day. They still haven't. 2021 just got released, and they're still carbureted, and it just kind of sucks. So my goal is to build one before they do. So one of the most common things people are doing when they're modifying these bikes to make more power is using parts from the Grom. The Grom's got a 125 motor, and the throttle bodies actually bolt on, and people are able to, increase airflow and make more power, reflash the ECU. There's a guy named Cameron Jones that's really killing it with all that kind of technology. And bottom line, the Grom stuff being interchangeable with the CRF is kind of what led me to wonder if the Kawasaki Z125 stuff is interchangeable with the KLX. Which leads me to the main topic of how this is going to work. So the goal is to make this entire project happen with all OEM parts. So we got a 2017 Kawasaki Z125. I paid $800 for this bike, non-running. It's got pro taper bars, it's got an exhaust, it's got an EFI tuner on it, and it did have a 143cc top end, but it had a hole in the piston. So I got a new top end right here, and hopefully it should run, pretty good after that. The plan is to get that all running and then throw it into this. This is an 05 Kawasaki KLX110 that I paid $400 for. It's got no back fender, it's got two flat tubes with terrible tires, no front brakes, a bent rear brake lever, and the sprocket. Oh yeah, it came with a sprocket, but the sprocket is just really seen better days here. But regardless, this bike runs, and it's definitely worth $400. So I'm hoping I can take all that, put it all on this. I ordered new plastics for this bike. I got the 2010 plus plastics. I got a new fuel tank for it, some new graphics, and I'm gonna steal the pro taper bars and maybe the forks if I can. I don't think that's really gonna happen. But yeah, we're basically just gonna take these two bikes and put them together. So straight away, there's a few problems that I'm already aware of, or at least they may turn into problems. First and foremost, is the motor gonna bolt up? Now, these have the YX style heads. Everything seems to be the exact same, and actually when you order the top end kit, it's the same. It's the same part number for a Z125 as it is for a KLX110. Now, I initially thought that there was gonna be a cam angle sensor somewhere in the head. I'm still not completely sure how the motor or how the ECU knows where the motor is in relation to the bottom end. It may be the kind of thing where it just monitors the crank and mechanical timing does the rest. I'm not completely sure, probably will figure that out along the way. The next question is, assuming the motor does bolt on, will the throttle body fit because of the way the frame is designed? So with the new CRF, it's got the twin spar frame. Obviously the 05 KLX is not gonna have that, so there may be some clearance issues with the top of the throttle body and where it sits kind of right below the fuel tank there. And then lastly, and I could be missing some, but these are what I know of right now, my last problem is the fuel pump. So this bike, obviously when you turn these bikes on, you hear a fuel pump prime, and it pressurizes the injector, or the fuel rail if you wanna call it that, and the bike can run properly because of that. So if I don't have a fuel pump, I don't think a vacuum pump will work. It probably won't supply enough pressure. It certainly won't be able to be regulated like it could if it was an electronic pump. So I'm gonna have to figure that out too. Now I did order a 2020 style fuel tank for this bike, so I can change all the plastics over to the newer style. And when I do that, I'm gonna look at possibly modifying the inside of the tank to run the fuel pump from that bike. But first, I need to get this bike running, because if this thing has still got a bent valve or something, then we got some more work to do before we can swap everything over. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the new top end on this bike. I didn't necessarily need a new cylinder, but with all the gaskets and stuff that you get, it's just a little bit easier to buy a full top end kit. It's like $190 for all of it, and that's a new piston with fresh rings as well. I will show you the old piston. I've got all the parts here kind of lined up, ready to go back on. Here's the old cylinder. It had a leaky head gasket as well, so it was definitely just really dirty and filthy and time to be replaced, I think. Here's the piston, so you can kind of see the light coming through there is not what you want. And the valves all check out fine, but we'll see. We'll get it running and see how everything works. But yeah, so I'm gonna throw the camera in the tripod and time lapse this, because this isn't exactly what the video is about. If you have any questions about how to redo a top end on one of these bikes, I'm sure there are other YouTube videos out there. You can look at those and check them out. But for this, I just wanna get this thing back together, and then we can look at putting the motor on the KLX.
It go and let it go, I mean feel when I let it flame or let it snow. Gotta move how you wanna move. Don't stay, gotta feel when it's feeling wrong and fade away. I'm a fucking innovator in a changing enterprises. I be checking on my stock, it's for finger exercises. I got zeros on my mind. I still smell dimes, my bank still climbs. I feel right, I look better, I need 7, right this minute, let me finish, now let me tell them. I cook these bricks up, now let me sell them. Let me feed the nation what it wants. All my patients front and center, all my humans in attendance. Hope you.
Alright, so I got it all back together. Went and grabbed some spark plugs, got some oil. Couldn't find a filter, so we're gonna have to rock this filter for now. I'll change that soon, but I just wanna see how it runs, how it sounds, and how everything's going. So I'm gonna add some oil to it, put a plug in it, and I think we're good to go on firing it up. There we go. Residual burn off on the header, but overall it seems to run pretty decent. I gotta go seat the rings. I'm gonna go ride it around a little bit, gotta throw a seat on it real fast, and then we'll see how it goes. And if it's all good, I'm gonna rip it all apart and start putting it on this bike. Check this out. I was able to get 91 miles on it. I rode it quite a bit the next day. No leaks, a little bit of ticking from the valves. I did adjust some coals, so that's probably what that is, but overall runs pretty solid. Let's take it around the block and kind of give her a go. There she is. Runs dialed.